What's up, homies and hoes? Welcome to the new survival world with Killer. I know my upload schedule hasn't been very consistent, but I'm gonna try to upload a video of the progress for this world at least once every month, starting with this one. And with this being the first video, I'll take you through what we've built, the process we went through to make it, and the plans that we have for the future. But first, I'd like to start at the beginning when we made this world. Me and Killer had been playing survival on a couple other servers a few weeks before 1.18 was released, but long story short, they didn't work out. However, Killer was really eager to play 1.18, so 10 days before it released, we started this world on a single-player LAN server. Normally, when we start a new world, I always make the world seed anzod, Killer, and then something after it. But Killer was the one to start the world, and he didn't do that. He just left it blank. And I would have made him restart the world to get a new seed, but the world generation ended up being pretty perfect for what we had in mind. Since the Realm world, I had an idea early on to make a large underground dwarven mining city, but it was always just an idea during that time, and when Caves and Cliffs was announced, I knew it'd be the perfect time to bring that idea to life. So when Killer and I were going to start a 1.18 world of our own before it was released, he and I discussed the idea to get a better understanding of what we wanted out of it and what the plan would be. After he made this world, and before I decided to play in survival or make him change the seed, I wanted to at least look around and see if there was already a large cave to work with that we could put this idea in. And sure enough, there was. A pretty massive one at that, and it was perfect for our plan. So after going to the surface to check out the surrounding area, we decided to stay on the world, and we both went into survival. We very quickly realized that before we even think of starting on it, we needed to get set up with the best tools and start a base somewhere, and that somewhere needed to be in a village. That way we could easily make a villager farm and get the best enchantments. The whole idea originally for this place was that it was just going to be purely functional rather than making it look nice, but that changed once we were going to start working on the basement for the trading hall. And once we started clearing it out, Killer decided we would clear it out in a certain way by blocking off sections at a time. And at some point before we actually did that, we agreed that we should get a proper storage room set up first. Killer and I had been talking before we started this world about changing up how we built by incorporating blocks that we wouldn't normally. So since he wanted to use deep slate and he had already been using deep slate for some other builds, we both settled on a nether themed block palette. I really didn't have a plan on what the storage room would look like, but I just started building this wall design, and with some tweaks here and there we landed on this. And the roof was a different situation, however. We had an idea of what we wanted, but it didn't look right because it wasn't tall enough. And after trying out various ideas, I remembered the house that I had made in the third episode of my retrospective, with the way the roof gradually sticks out more the higher up it went. And it really completed the build and brought it all together. Among one of the first buildings to get built around here was this basement in one of these default villager houses. And this was what used to be our base of operations. It was pretty modest but functional. We had several double chests here against this wall for storage. And of course we had an enchantment table in here. And we've still got a staircase going down to bedrock, as well as this hole that drops down to mine for deep slate. However, the storage just got out of hand, and we just had to make a storage room separate from this. With this being the 1.18 update, the new terrain generation really posed a problem for us in the beginning because so many of the resources that were easily accessible in previous versions became very difficult to get to in this version. For instance, coal. Coal ended up becoming a real problem because we just never had any coal to use. I would be mining for a few hours and just barely come back with maybe a vein or two of coal. Same thing with iron. Iron also became very problematic in that after maybe an hour and a half of mining, I'd only come back with a stack of ore. At one point in the beginning, for a while, we had more diamonds than we did coal, because coal was just that difficult to find. So the second thing that was built around here was the villager breeder over here. And this is exactly how it looked when it was built. It was all built by Killer. And it was necessary to build first because we needed to start getting all the villagers so that we could start getting the traits that we needed in here. The second building that we needed to build was an iron farm because, like I said, we just couldn't get any resources. Every mineable resource that you would normally get a lot of in the previous versions were just far more difficult to come across and find in this version. So the second thing to be built was the iron farm, which also was built by Killer. And it is a quite profitable design. So profitable that we actually have an iron problem now. We can't get rid of this stuff fast enough. It just produces that much. But here's the design of it. It's a stackable design, and originally we were thinking of having a couple layers of this, but we decided to hold off on it for a little bit because even just this was producing a lot of iron pretty quickly in the beginning. And even now, it produces too much iron, actually. It's just too good of a design. After the iron farm was built, we needed villagers to trade the iron with, and we needed to start getting some enchantments and other things like farmers to get some food and the Fletchers to trade sticks with. So this was the third building to be built. It's the villager trading hall. And this is exactly how it was built in the beginning. There has been no modifications to it other than we've removed some of the villagers that were in here. And this was the whole design here. As well as right here, we have a zombie. So that when we click this button over here, a minecart will come out, grab a villager, bring him in here, stop on this unpowered rail. We'll wait for him to get turned. Then we'll press the button, move him along. He'll stop here and wait for us to press the button again so that we can adjust the rail however we need. And then just drop off that zombified villager and then repeat that process, 6 or 7 times to get a horde of them. Throw one weakness potion, cure them all, and then just stand here and wait for them all to turn. And then that's what this rail's for, is once they're all turned, we can move them into the new trading hall. But back with this place, so this place was originally going to be the trading hall, and we planned on having a basement floor which would have the farmers and a upstairs that would have the librarians. But Killer figured that if we're gonna go through all the effort in getting all those villagers and everything, he wanted this place to at least look good. Since we're gonna have to keep coming back over here to get trades and get emeralds, he wanted it to look good. So we decided that we would make it look good. And before that, before it was, the idea was moved to be over there, we were working on getting the basement cleared out so that we could start getting the farmers in there. But down here, you can see I had laid out the design that it was going to be. We were going to have a melon and pumpkin farm over on this side, an automatic one of course, and an automatic carrot and potato farm on this side, and then both of those farms would feed into a series of double chests that would be here in the middle. But after we got all the sponges and we started clearing out some of this down here, we decided to change our plans and actually make this look good. So, like I said, this is the storage room here. I just started making a wall design, and with some tweaks here and there, this is what we came up with. Inside was no different of a story. We just kind of winged it when it came to the inside, and I think it turned out quite nice. Originally, where this set of 9 barrels is, and this set of 9 barrels, as well as, you know, on the opposite sides, it was double chests. And these corners were always barrels. But then we decided to get rid of the double chests because it just looked nicer having the barrels in this spot, and the regular oak chests just didn't match the design around here. Over on this wall, we've got the map of the area. It's a little outdated in that it doesn't have the rails going from the old trading hall to the new one, but other than that, it's up to date. So on the opposite wall, we have the furnaces, and each of these barrels sections is themed around something. So we've got the stone wall, various stones and gravel, some grass. Over here we've got valuables, as well as some other oddities that are valuable, like some heads and other stuff. Here we've got the ocean stuff, but it is quite empty right now. This is the nether section. This is the miscellaneous section. This is the food and seeds and whatnot. This is the woods. This is the mob drops, passive and aggressive. And this is the miscellaneous section of other just oddities and things that don't fit in any of the other sections. In the center of the room, we have the slime launcher, which takes you to the bulk storage upstairs. The only items up here right now, though, are the stone barrel and the iron barrel. And that's all we've really needed this upstairs for so far. There was a lot of debate on what we would use to get to the second floor. We thought maybe of taking out one of these corner sections to put a spiral staircase. I was thinking for a little bit of maybe having a slime launcher on this wall. And then we just ended up looking up a video for the slime launcher that we wanted, which was this one, which pulls a block away and launches you up with the slime. And it just happened to launch you up the exact amount of blocks that we needed. Right here is the building of the hour. the new trading hall. It is by far the most expensive building that me or Killer have ever made, and you will soon find out why. Not only are there 6 iron anvils in each little window section here, but the upstairs has a little bit of a surprise too. So this building alone took so much time. It went through many iterations and designs early on. My only idea for this place was that I wanted to have lava here flowing at the bottom, just like this. But the layers above it, I had no idea what I wanted. We thought maybe of having a farther out overhang that kind of created a roof above here. We tried for several hours, and by several I mean 5 or 6 hours and several days of thinking to try to come up with a design for the second floor that we both liked. And finally, we settled on this design for both the bottom and the top layer. And Killer finally said, you know what, let's just do this design a little bit and we'll see if we like it or not. So we did that second layer and we both liked it. And then I had the idea of just doing the exact same thing for the third layer. And then for the roof, I knew that I didn't want it to be a complicated roof like this again. And because of the way it looks, it didn't need a complicated roof. And so this is the roof design that I came up with. Nothing too fancy, but gets the job done and looks nice. The inside. The outside can be very deceptive. You may think there's 3 layers, but the interior design is quite different from the exterior. Again, from the inside, I laid out each stall for where the villager was going to go. And from there, me and Killer, like we do, we just kind of discuss things, figuring out what type of design we both wanted. And I'm pretty sure I made the suggestion again of having a second layer above the first that was pushed back a bit, because Killer had shown me an image of a outdoor villager trading hall where this sort of design was implemented. And we had the room on the inside to be able to do this. So we went ahead and built it like this. But I also didn't want it to be really enclosed in here. I didn't want there to be a roof over this section right here. I wanted it to feel open. Since I didn't want this place to be enclosed, I knew it needed to have a high ceiling to make it feel more open. And again, this place went through many iterations, many suggestions and ideas were thrown around, and eventually we landed on this design. Killer wanted this section in here to be lower than the section in the middle. He wanted it to be raised in the middle here. And he didn't know how to do it, and I just said, don't worry, I got this. Just sort of winged it based on his description of what he wanted. We made it, and it just turned out amazing. And he even said afterwards that this is exactly what he had envisioned when he thought of that. But as always, things always take a tragic turn. The tragic story with this place is that the roof on the inside, being the only thing that's flammable, ended up burning. And here's a picture of it. What happened was this on the inside, we completely built the ceiling in here, and nothing was wrong. And the lava in all of these sections out here was already placed. But this lava out here was placed 1 block below. So right now, the lava is on this layer right here, but it was originally occupying this layer right here. So there's a little space above it where you could see past the lava. So Killer made the suggestion that we move it all up so that you can't see the lava is just like floating there. And I agreed we needed to move it up one higher, but I just had it lower because I thought it was going to interfere with stuff on the inside, but it didn't. So he changed all of that. We left the storage room briefly because we had already finished most of what we wanted in here. And he comes back in here at some point, and the roof is on fire. I was off doing something. He says the roof is on fire on the inside. I'm just thinking, oh god, no, I don't want to rebuild that. So I don't do anything, and I just leave him to deal with it. Because in my mind, I think it's probably not that bad. There's probably, it's probably spreading, but not quickly or anything. After like 10 seconds or so, and he was still having trouble getting rid of the fire, I run in here to help put an end to the fire spread. That's what it was. I was trying to figure out what the command was to stop fire spread because I thought it was off already. So I come in here, help him put out the fire, we turn fire spreading off, and we try to figure out what the issue was. Because not 5 minutes before this whole thing happened, Killer said we don't have to worry about fire because this whole place is fireproof. And we had even made sure that it would be fireproof by placing down this perimeter back here to separate the wood from being too close to the lava. And it still caught fire somehow. So we turned fire spread off, made sure that the lava was blocked off enough to keep from spreading. And there hasn't been any problems since, thankfully. The next floor is accessed from the corner, and that is the library. Perhaps now you can see why it might have been the most valuable build we've ever done, considering the light source up here is beacons. These are not just retextured. These are in fact beacons up here. I believe 28 of them or so. And up here we have every different enchantment with the best enchantment level that it can give. We even have a couple of open spots in case enchantments are added in the future. And this place turned out really well. In the beginning, after we made the first floor, Killer didn't think that we would really have room for a second floor, but I assured him we did, and I told him exactly how we would do it. And like we do, we came up here and we just winged it. I mean, other than knowing that the villagers, we needed to have a certain amount of spaces for villagers, and that needed to be evenly distributed on each side. We just kind of had a loose set of perimeters that we had to go by, and this is what we came up with. It wasn't easy coming up with this, because it never is easy coming up with any of these ideas that we've done on here, but it's been worth it. And to get down from this place, we have a descending bubble elevator. And finally, for the villager trading hall, we have our most recent project that is still in development, and that is down here. We have the farming villagers, but there's no farming villagers in here. So this, you can see, is quite an upgrade from the basement of the original trading hall. It has gone through many iterations, just like the rest of these builds. But this is what we have landed on. A sort of abandoned, lost in time temple area on both sides, meant to look like they perhaps collapsed into the ground and the cave is falling in on top of them on either side. This entire place can hold 36 farming villagers when it's all filled up. And these sides are meant to hold the melon and pumpkin farm. So this side will be all melons and this side will be all pumpkins. Well, I don't know that it's going to be, melons on this side, pumpkins on that side, but they will be sorted out automatically to go to one side or the other. And it will also double as a bone meal farm. So any extra melons or pumpkins that get stored up get turned into bone meal. But it is quite early in development. There's no melon and pumpkin farm yet, so this place isn't operating. And this side will be the carrot and potato farm. Again, it will automatically sort to one side, carrots on one side, potatoes on the other. And this place has also gone through some very unfortunate times. Originally, this place, the way he made it, was he had this 4x5 and then he had this as a 4x4. So this was moved up one. And this was the side that we did the designing on first. So there was the 4x5 there, the 4x4 there, and then we built this entire side to get an idea of what this place was going to look like. So then we started working on this side, replicating that side over here. So he started it, laying it out over here. He did some of the framework, and then while he was off doing the librarian villagers, I was just replicating that side over here. So after I finished it, I think I was just working on the roof at this point after I had completely mirrored it on this side. He comes down here and he's like, wait, no way. No way, dude. No way this is happening. And I'm just thinking, oh God, no, what is it now? And he starts going into hysteria. He can't believe it. And what happened was this side he had made 4x4, the 4x5 and then the 4x4. But this side he made both of these 4x5. And we didn't notice. So both sides had already been complete, perfectly mirrored. But one of the sides wasn't even because it was off by one block. So we could not believe it. We sat there for probably like 15 minutes figuring out what we were going to do. I came up with some ideas like, if we put something in the middle here, then the fact that this place isn't even won't be as noticeable. And we could either do that, or we would actually have to just completely rebuild one of these sides to make it all even again. And he's like, he decides to just redo this side to make this 4x5 just like that side was. So he completely tears down this side except for the roof and rebuilds this whole place. And I helped him out a bit, but I told him at the beginning, I was like, if you gotta rebuild that side, I'm not gonna help, because that was not my fault that this place wasn't even. And while he was working on redoing this side, I still had to finish the roof anyway. So pretty much once he finished that side, I finished rebuilding the roof. And the framework of this place was complete. And that's pretty much where we've ended things. I've been on a little bit doing some things like moving villagers into the first floor upstairs, kind of adding some signs here and there around the place for reference on what I want to do. like adding a pond in here, as well as having some small rivers run through. Out here, some future projects that we have plans for are making the paths out of soul soil and bordering them with basalt and some deep slate. And like you've seen on the map here, that whole backside of the trading hall is netherrack. So the plan is to replace all the soil around here with netherrack and turn it into either crimson or warped grass and make this place look more like the nether, but in the overworld. And those are just our plans over here on this side of the world. That's not even beginning to talk about the underground dwarven city that we have planned. And of course we need to get rid of this old trading hall. We're either going to move this old breeder or redo it. And there's some other smaller plans probably that I might be missing. But that's pretty much the state of everything on this world as it is now. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see y'all in the next one.